Reliance Global is an insurtech pioneer leveraging artificial intelligence and cloud computing to transform the insurance brokerage industry. With me is Rick Emig, a Chief Operating Officer of a Reliance Global subsidiary.
Yes.
And also Grant Barra, Senior Vice President of Operations. Great to have you back.
Thank you.
So Grant, let's just start with, provide us with an overview of Reliance Global Group, the recent development. What have been some of the consolidations involving the exchange? Bring us up to date on all of that.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned consolidations. One of the biggest developments organically that we've been heading towards within the company is we call it the one firm. And essentially that is a consolidation of all the entities in which Reliance Global Group has purchased over the last several years. And it's really a good thing that this is happening. Because there is a lot of value, synergetic value, that is ready to be taken advantage of, particularly with our exclusive agency partner network through Reliance Exchange. So Reliance Exchange is the company in which the subsidiaries are rolling into. Reliance Exchange is our agency partner network. So as we continue down the path of the consolidation, our agency partners in the field are going to be able to experience significantly more opportunity, more markets, access to more experts within the organization, and at a high level, we're not even close to done with the consolidation, but we've already experienced a significant, since we've started this process, significant increase in revenue and a reduction in expenses. Now, when some people talk about consolidations, it can be worrisome, as opposed to we're eliminating, positions within the company, and that is not what we're doing. This consolidation has actually given us the opportunity to redeploy assets in the field, quality individuals from the administrative tasks that they were doing that are duplicated throughout the organizations, and shifting them to revenue producing roles. And that's why we've seen such value up to this point.
So let's talk about Rick, bring him into the picture here. Explain his role. How does that add to Reliance Global?
Right, so Rick is an amazing man. Rick's an amazing man. He actually built one of the largest agency distribution networks in Michigan, right? Focused on health insurance. So, he's got an incredible background, and I'll tell you, I've been working with Rick. And not only Rick, but we have some incredible field leaders, right, that can have and are continuing to move the needle for us, right? It's all about having good people. Rick's one of those great people. So Rick is the Chief Operating Officer of one of our subsidiary companies, which is also being consolidated underneath that one firm plan that we have. We do see a future where Rick is going to be head of all things life and health in the field. So as we segment out, we want to leverage the right experts we have in the field, and take full advantage so the entire organization can benefit, as opposed to just the entity that they work with today.
And Rick, let's bring you in. We've been talking about you, so tell me about your evolution, your journey with Reliance Global.
Well, I've been on board for about 2 years after a 27-year career in the health insurance market in Michigan. And since that time, watching how Reliance, Global Group operated, I've watched a lot of aggregators consolidate or purchase companies and consolidate them. And I've throughout my career, I've watched a lot of that. So I was very curious as to how Reliance Global Group did that with a subsidiary I joined. And at first, my opinion was they bought good companies, provided support, and left them alone. And then as I was surprised by that, and because there's a lot of opportunities that were being missed. And very quickly they started the evolution towards where we're going today by bringing in some infrastructure to home office, which is banking and payroll and all kinds of different tools that give the field organizations a more efficient way to do things. And then it moved into, we're all going to use this CRM in your field office, and we're all going to use this agency management system. And that change is cumbersome and sometimes hard, and sometimes there's some stiff arms that go up. But watching the successes that we've had from some of those changes really lend itself to this next step of actually becoming one firm, actually having one go-to-market strategy, actually taking advantage of the opportunities of working with the other subsidiary companies throughout the country.
What have been some of the benefits that you have realized or anticipate realizing as part of this one firm transition?
Well, the benefits we've realized are more about efficiencies and things Grant talked about a second ago about lowering costs, and with that comes some revenue increases. But looking forward is kind of the exciting part for me, is that it's access to markets and access to carrier contracts and access to the brain trust of my partners that run the other agencies, that run the other affiliates. When you talk about being able to cross-sell and just generate revenue that never existed before by taking advantage of those new markets and new carrier contracts.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that? Access to markets, access to the brain trust?
Right, so you could think of that geographically, yes, but not really specifically. It's really about lines of coverage. So my organization focuses on the health insurance side of the business, whereas my partner Mike Dobeck, who runs Real Exchange, he focuses in the P&C side. So now all of a sudden, if I have X number of members under management who I've never offered property and casualty coverage to, now all of a sudden I have an access to a new market. I have an access for that cross-sell to take place. If all of a sudden I have an opportunity with a group customer in Montana, Julie, who runs the operation in Montana, is there available to show me which carrier contracts are available that I don't have access to because I don't have enough production in Montana to even be on their radar. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of opportunities that come from operating as one firm.
Is the cross-selling as straightforward as it seems in your opinion? I mean, what would be some of the complexities perhaps that we don't
Cross-selling sounds easy and everyone talks a big game about it. It's actually quite hard. I've watched a lot of firms fail over the years. A property and casualty firm that hires a benefits person to go in and write all that business. What happens is the person who owns the relationship is scared to give up that relationship in fear of someone else damaging that relationship. And that's mostly because people operate in silos. And so as Reliance Global Group has these subsidiaries all over the place, sort of operating in a silo historically. As we get rid of the silo and we're all operating with one vision, one culture, one reward system, so that it's a benefit to everyone when that cross-sell is not stymied by someone's concern over relationships.
Mm-hmm. And what about the pain points as you make this transition?
And Grant alluded to it in the opening, is change is hard for anybody. Everybody who says they like change I think they're lying. I think that
True.
All of these good companies that were purchased by Reliance Global Group have good people that built great organizations, and those personalities are generally of an entrepreneur who think they are right, who think they did it the only way it should ever be done. And as pain points of change are hard. So I think you have to hit small wins, small successes, prove concept, and then it's so much easier to take that next jump into that next iteration of whatever the merging or assimilation takes place.
And the brand awareness, how easy is it during this transition?
That's a concern that the principals have because they built a brand, and that brand is part of their identity. And so, whatever market they're in, there's a name recognition that it's a concern if all of a sudden that goes away. The truth is brand changing is not new. There's a certain way to do it, so it's XYZ company, a Real Exchange company. Mm-hmm. And then 6 months later, the logo switch. And then it says formerly X company. And then all of a sudden that X company doesn't really have the same need for brand awareness. So, the initial thought is, oh, absolutely not, you can't change my brand. Mm-hmm. But then as you think about it and you follow a strategy that is not new. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, and Grant, I mean, talk to me a little bit about the one firm and how it facilitates, some of the changes, some of the transition, easier onboarding. Talk about what the expectations are with this.
Okay, so the one firm, there's significant benefits internally, right? To all the organizations consolidating, sharing resources, and we've already shown that through that increase of revenue and reduction of expenses. There's also a great ease of doing business. It creates significant opportunity for others within the organization that want to grow professionally, right? And move into new roles within the organization, which is phenomenal. And then when you look, as we achieve the one firm, like acquisitions are a real part of our growth strategy. And as we continue to move down the path and acquire quality companies that cash flow and provide synergetic benefits to us, right? Us, all the organizations and people that we have in the field, it makes it much easier to roll that organization into the one firm because we have all the processes already in place. And when you roll it, they can immediately start taking advantage of the benefits that we already have here at Reliance. So immediately there's an uplift when we're making that acquisition. But it's not one direction, because when we're bringing in the acquisition, it was a strategic acquisition in the first place, and I'm really looking forward to 2024. It was a strategic acquisition in the first place, and they have mechanisms, they have processes, they have markets in place that we don't necessarily already have access to. So while we lift that acquisition, right, and create significantly more value there, they're in turn creating more value for our operations that are already in place.
Interesting. How can somebody find out more about Reliance Global or the exchange?
Okay, so Reliance Global Group, best place to go is if you go to www.relianceglobalgroup.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and put in your email address so you can be alerted for any news or press releases or filings that may come out. Very important to stay up to date, and you can understand the whole story. For Reli Exchange, if you're an agent or an agency partner that's really looking to have your own independent practice, right? Built on the backbone of a proprietary InsurTech platform, you have access to the mentorship and guidance that you need. Those individuals are going to want to go to www.reliexchange.com.
Okay, Grant and Rick, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jane.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jane.